this. And thanks for joining everybody to our bi-weekly commercial call. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to let our guests open up and lead. We have Remo Sultani and Eddie Yunus with, if I pronounce your name properly, with the PNC. And I'm going to let you guys, PNC Bank, I'm going to let you guys kind of share with us more about yourself and what you have going on. And hopefully we're going to get valuable, information from you guys.
Absolutely. Hey, Manny, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity, and David, to get on you guys' call and, give us a few minutes to kind of tell you about what we do and who we are. Idris Yunus is my direct supervisor, so I want to make sure he's on the call as well. If there's any questions, we can both answer him, and he's my mentor as well. So I'm the Vice President and Senior Healthcare Relationship Manager for PNC Bank. I've been in the healthcare industry for about close to 6 years dealing with healthcare clients, but in finance over 20 years. So a lot of things that we do at PNC is mostly healthcare related for us. Is dealing with doctors, dentists, veterinarians, ophthalmology, anything like that. So that is my specialty. And Eddie, can you please introduce yourself as well?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining, taking the time out of your day to join. My name is Eddie Yunus. First, it's actually Idris Yunus. I go by Eddie to shorten it. Some people can't say Idris, some can. I'm the healthcare sales manager for California and Arizona. And so we specialize, Remo and I specialize specifically around healthcare clients when it comes to merchant acquisitions, when it comes to practice acquisitions, commercial real estate purchase, whatnot, tenant improvement loans. And so that's kind of what we specialize in. And honestly, it's been a blast. Healthcare is kind of new to PNC on the West Coast. We've been doing it since 2004 on the East Coast, and it's been a fantastic. It's probably one of the most heaviest relied on components of the bank, where we bring in a lot of revenue to the institution. And so as we start expanding over to the West Coast, PNC realized that there's an opportunity there for healthcare as well. And Remo was blessed, as well as myself, to join the healthcare team, and it's been fun since we started. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Idris. If you guys are okay with that, I'm going to share a screen really quick. It's a quick few-minute presentation. It's our healthcare deck, and I'll go over it with you guys really quick. It kind of gives you a detailed description of who we are and what we do in the healthcare space. Perfect. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So this is a healthcare deck with PNC Healthcare Business Banking. Kind of gives you a description why us, 25 plus years assisting private practice and their owners, trusted advisors such as myself that work for PNC Bank that can, efficiently and securely manage the revenue cycles. By the numbers, healthcare business banking advisors team spanning 32 states plus Washington, D.C. We have over 100 plus dedicated healthcare business banking professionals such as myself throughout the country. 25 plus billion in capital dedicated to the healthcare industry with PNC. PNC Bank, 40% of our portfolio is healthcare related, believe it or not, which is huge. We're competing with, not even competing anymore. I'm actually beating Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, US Bank, some of the big names. Over 70% of the top 100 payers and providers are active clients of ours. It's quick of what we do to help you effectively manage your revenue cycle. This is mostly a presentation that's for the doctors. We help our clients effectively manage their revenue cycle, kind of accelerate their practice collections, simplify the distribution process for them, provide options for investing excess cash, leverage online information reporting tools, kind of help them more on the success side and set them up for a better practice, moving forward. Offering solutions to help manage their personal finances, personal accounts, investment, retirement accounts, their mortgages. So we offer those as well for them. And we have a separate section that actually does that for the healthcare providers themselves. Provided benefits for their employees. We go as far as offering different promotions, different products and services for their employees as well. So that's for the doctors. This is what kind of I want to go over more. Practice financing overview. What do we do?
Remo,
so some of the things that we do, and yeah, absolutely, please.
If I chime in on that first slide. let's just go back up a little bit. I just want to add a couple thoughts in here for you guys. And so one of the key things that differentiate us between some of the competition that's out there is the fact when you look at Remo's title, he's a relationship manager. He's a one-stop shop. And so at PNC, we have what we call the One Eco. And other banks have something similar, but unfortunately, what I found in recruiting, for the business banking positions that we have, that not all banks do this effectively. And so the way Remo's position works as a one-stop shop, when we're talking about managing revenue cycles, so when it comes to PNC Healthcare, we have our own healthcare payment specialist. And this is a benefit added to our practice, our clients, right? Our owner users. And so our healthcare payment specialist is designed specifically to handle healthcare clients. So they have a one-stop shop where they have one person they reach out to versus calling the 800 number and trying to get a response from the 800 number. And so that's kind of what differentiates us. And we have a ton of solutions on that. We offer lockbox, remote deposit capture, et cetera. So that's kind of what goes into managing the revenue cycle. And Remo is very involved in that aspect as well. And so myself as well, we'll get on these calls with the clients and try to walk through how to help accelerate their practice collections, how to collect from their clients as well, and then how to make their business day-to-day easier. When it comes to the personal solutions, on the second section there, personal checking and credit solutions. So we're very big on that One Eco approach. And so we have a very unique relationship when it comes to our branches. In California, we have about 62 branches, and we're looking to expand eventually in California. So in Arizona, where we also operate as well, at least for myself, we have about 64 branches. And so between the two, we have a ton of footprint when it comes to the two. We also have bankers in Seattle and in Washington as well. So we don't have actual branches there quite yet, but at some point in the future, we're looking to expand is basically the vision that I'm seeing. In fact, that's the reason why we have healthcare bankers out there, because we're trying to establish that. So that's what I want to add. Thanks, Remo.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eddie, for jumping in on that. All right. So practice financing overview. This is what we're phenomenal at doing. So we do practice acquisition mergers. We do letter of intents, buyout agreement, practice financial statement, personal financial picture, kind of painting that on collecting what we need. The main focus, which kind of brings us together with your team, is office lease and real estate purchase agreement. So one of the main things we do here is if there's any time a client's interested in purchasing a commercial real estate property, we would be involved in that from A to Z. Whether it's SBA or conventional, we would definitely want to do the financing for those clients. And on something like that, depending on how strong the client is, we could go on the conventional side, 80%, on the SBA side, up to 90%, depending on how well they're qualified. The leases, if they do a lease and they want to do tenant improvements and build out that space, which most positions do now, we'll be more than happy to do the TI lending for them. So we'll set up the TI lending, tenant improvement lending for them, get them set up on the equipment. Anything they need from A to Z, we're going to finance that for them. Estimated leasehold improvements and equipment upgrades. If they need equipment on there, we'll set that up as well. Practice loan benefits. The acquisition loan can provide you with the following benefits: support of the purchase of their practice and acquisition. This may include additional funding for transitional expenses. If they wanted to do a line of credit for working capital, we always make sure that we include a business credit card for them as well. And those, depending on how big the client is, we could go anywhere up to $1 million, $2 million, depending on what it is on the line of credits for them. On the credit card, I believe the max that we could do is $250. Or is that correct, Eddie?
That's right.
On the business options, yeah, max is $250 on those. And those are some of the things that we do: equipment financing, start up their practice. If it's a dentist or a doctor that's looking to start up their practice, as long as they have 2 years out of medical school and they're practicing 2 years at another office, we could go ahead and do a startup loan for them. And those are pretty easy. I love doing those. It's usually, hey, you want to buy the real estate or you want to lease it? And we'll finance those, 100% of them. They're projection based. And those I can close within, depending on how backed our back office is, I could close those typically within 30, max 45 days, as long as I have a complete package from that. And that's all I have. Eddie, did I miss anything on here?
No, you did fantastic. Thank you. I will add too, guys. So I think the reason why I was interested in joining this call as well is because oftentimes what I hear is, hey, I have a client looking to rent out office space or lease out some office space. Who do I reach out to? Do we have a contact? Do we have somebody that we could reach out to in San Diego that could help find a location? Oftentimes what I do is I just go find a commercial broker and say, hey, I have a client looking for this. Can you help find this? Thanks. Let me introduce you to the client. And so I think where this relationship, where I'm thinking this should go, is when we run into these situations where we're looking for clients that want to lease out a building and we don't have an agent, because we don't do the research on it, to be honest. I mean, that's not something that we specialize in. That's probably something that we focus on. We help you guys. We'll push them over to you guys to ask you guys for help on uncovering that. And that's where you guys, a specialty, will come in, where you can help find a medical building that the client might be able to lease out. And then where we come in is the build out aspect of it, right? We'll come in and say, okay, hey, you help find the leased building. Fantastic, thank you. We're going to come in and do the tenant improvements, help the client build out the business they're trying to build out. So I just wanted to add that in there as well. And then when it comes to real estate purchases as well, we don't, Remo and I, we don't necessarily go out and search for. I try to, but to be honest, I mean, you guys have years of experience in doing that. I'm not a commercial broker, and so I can't go in and say, hey, this is the best fit for you. I don't know. Somebody like Meny would probably know that better than I do. But what I can say is, hey, I can give you the money to buy this building that you found. And so when we have clients who are looking to buy practices or buy a real estate, oftentimes we don't know where to send them. They will come to us and say, hey, we found a building we're interested in. We want to put an offer in on it. Okay, great. Execute the purchase contract, and we'll go ahead and go to underwriting and try to get you an approval. So just want to add that in there. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more thing I wanted to add, I just want you guys to know we're not just your healthcare bankers. So if you have anything outside of healthcare that you wanted to look at it, let's say you had a client that was looking to purchase a commercial building for their practice or their business, if they're a CPA or if they're a store that's looking to expand. If it's not healthcare, that's something that we do as well. So I have partners within the bank that I work with. If you send me somebody that's looking for space for a restaurant, a convenience store, or if they're looking for an office space that they're going to purchase for their whatever business that they have, that's something that we finance as well. If they're looking for a line of capital, a line of credit for working capital, those are things that we could do as well. Any other industry that you're looking at outside of healthcare, we do have a division that handles that. And my partner in there would be Ali Smiley, that's been with the bank for about 10 years, and has been in the industry for over 20 years. That's very knowledgeable in that space. And I would typically loop him in and have him take over with that process as well.
Thank you both, Remo and Eddie. And I also just want to point out that you guys were referred to us by David Yashar. David, I'm not sure if you're still the back seat, or maybe they drop you off somewhere.
Hi, Meny. Yes, I was introduced to Remo, and I'm sorry about the back noise. Let me get out. Was introduced to Remo and his bank, of course, through a client who we listed the property out in Huntington Park, California. He spoke very highly of him, and I said, well, you know what? Talk is cheap. Let me speak with him. And normally when I call, I gotta be very straight up. I can tell within the first 2-3 minutes, and we've never met, who I'm dealing with. Right away, he responds. Okay, I send out a text, within an hour, 2 hours, he's getting back to me. This is the kind of people I like working with. I'm sorry, nothing against the bank. I've heard of PNC, but remember, 90% of the time, we're working with that individual. Okay, and Eddie, it's nice to meet you, but I just want to give kind of kudos, or just say high five. Remo has, even though we haven't done any business, he's just been very kind. He's always been on top of it. I've given him, probably, I would say 3 or 4 people to call, kind of pre-qualify them, and kind of, he's been on top of it. This is the kind of individual I would want to get my business. And that's just kind of in a nutshell. He's not a 9 to 5. He's like, it's at 7 in the morning or it's at 7 at night. That's the kind of person I'm getting here. So keep up the good work, Remo John. This is what it takes in this business, especially the market is changing right now. We all have to step it up, and we appreciate your time, and Eddie, and of course look forward to working with you. And I hope the rest of the gang from the KW network have an opportunity to work with you. So thank you.
David, thank you so much. Your check's in the mail, my friend. I appreciate it. But no, thank you. You absolutely said it.
I just got back. I need another vacation money. Send it, David. Send it.
No, but like David said, we're not the 9 to 5 guys. And being in healthcare, if you ever dealt with a doctor, they're typically 7:30 in the morning to about 8 o'clock before they get in the office. And if you're lucky, you'll catch them at noon. But to be honest with you, majority of my business is 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And Eddie can attest to this because I do call him at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and he's available as well. And we'll talk about a deal or a client and say, hey, let's get on a call with this client, because they'll call at 9:30. And I'll be honest with you, the latest call I ever had was 11:30 at night. It was with a doctor client of mine, and goes, hey, this is the only time I have to sit freely. The kids are asleep. The practice is closed. We can talk openly without anyone interrupting. And we did talk at 11:30 to 12:30 and got off the phone and closed that deal with them. So we're available anytime.
There's a question for you guys on the chat from Elizabeth, asking, as healthcare advances are changing all the time, would you also be able to finance an upgrade to match the advance in purchasing equipment?
Be able to finance an upgrade to match the advance in do you mind elaborating on that? What do you mean by upgrading to match the advance in purchasing equipment?
It used to be that like knee surgeries where you'd have to stay 3 days in the hospital, and a lot of them have advanced to more orthoscopic procedures in an outpatient clinic. So if they're moving knee surgeries from the actual 3-day stay in the hospital to go to a rehab facility, and they're moving them to the outpatient clinics for orthoscopics, if you're a doctor that's in ortho and they're going to be having a satellite clinic, would that be something that you would be open to financing?
Yeah, that'd be something that we could finance. So basically, would we finance a satellite clinic if a doctor is looking to perform surgeries and put them onto a different facility? Absolutely, yeah, we can do it. We can finance a satellite clinic as long as it's owner user. Like where we specialize in is your clients that are looking to basically have 1 to maybe 5 practices or business operations, right? Locations. If we get to the 6th, it doesn't mean that we can't do it, but then we want to see some financials from the previous location that they opened. And so if this client wanted to have 3-4 satellite locations, it's still a possibility. As long as the strength is there in the deal, as long as the cash flow, as long as the debt to income checks out, we could potentially do it. So the nice thing about PNC Healthcare too, just to kind of give some light to that, Elizabeth, the way we structure our deals and the way we look at our deals, we don't just throw them in a hopper and hope that, it sticks, and then, we throw it on the wall and hope it sticks. It doesn't work that way within the healthcare segment. And so with the way we structure our deals and the way we go about our deals is Remo would collect a complete package from a client. We would then get on a call with our loan advisor. We have somebody internally that basically will almost work as like a checks and balance type person. And he'll assist in making sure that we have everything we need that underwriting may ask. He tries to think outside the box to determine if this deal is going to work or not. We do our own cash flows. We do our own debt to income analysis. And so once we have all that put together, we typically know on the front end whether the cash flow looks solid or not. Sometimes what happens though is a client might not disclose every single thing that they have from a lending perspective or a credit perspective. And then all of a sudden, they have $1,000 Tesla that they pay a month on a Tesla lease that they have. And then all of a sudden the DTI goes out of whack. And so it has happened. I bring that example up because it's happened and it's thrown a deal completely out, because without that $1,000 monthly payment, it looked great. But now we have a $1,000 monthly payment, it doesn't. So we typically will pre-flight it beforehand. And then majority of our deals, 9 out of 10 of our deals typically get approved. It's very rare for us to turn a deal down after we go through the pre-screen process, unless there's a surprise, such as what I just shared, where we do a credit pull and then all of a sudden there's payments we're not aware of. And so our deals usually 9 out of 10 get approved. And so majority of the bank, even on the non-healthcare side, typically they try to focus on finding healthcare opportunities because they're more than likely they're going to get approved.
And I'll add something to that, Eddie. Very quickly, how our process works is when we get together with a client, I move very quickly. I don't want to sit there and have the client give me the information within the next week or so. I'll reach out to them within 24 hours and say, hey, the sooner you give me the information, this is what I need. 3 years business personal tax returns, PFS, business debt schedule, and I'll send them all that information as well in interims. The minute I have a complete package, I will literally put that together within 24 hours and get it in front of my team that pre-flights it. As long as they give me the green light, at that point, it's almost a green light to go into underwriting and get it underwritten to get approved. Because what they look at is the cash flow of the deal, the structure of the deal, what are we looking at as far as liquidity, and if there's a risk to the deal. As long as I can cash flow that deal and look at the DTI and the numbers make sense, I can move forward on that pretty quickly. And depending on how backed up our queue is, on the downtime, I could get a turnaround time within 2 weeks. I'll have an answer. Once that 2-week period is up, the rest of it moves pretty quickly from there. We could order an appraisal from there, start working on the rest of the items and get it collected. My underwriting team moves pretty quick as long as our queues, they're not too backed up and we don't have too many deals in the system.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, yeah, she said thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Any other questions for Remo and Eddie? Anybody?
Do you guys have more on your agenda, or is it just tailored to Remo?
Well, we're gonna chit chat about the different things in a second. I'll just open up, but feel free, and you can stay and just pitch in as well. But Eddie, Remo, feel free to maybe add your contact information on the chat to everybody.
Absolutely.
We're gonna reach out to you directly and ask questions afterwards if they need to.
Thank you.
Okay, Juan, how's the weather in Bakersfield? Just temperature check.
Oh man, it's truly hot, so hot that I don't even feel like going inside the pool.
How's everything up there? You guys see any different trends than we've seen the last 12, maybe 6 months?
I mean, some depending on the investors. What I have seen is depending on the appetite of the investor, some of them are kind of holding back or their investment criteria. So I have seen a little bit of a shift, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a area where prices are still affordable in Southern California, and also the Bay Area are buying a lot of stuff, and they own a lot of stuff down here.
Anything you guys want to bring up today? We have a good group today. Anything you guys want to bring up? Questions you have, you want to ask? Open mic, guys. What do you have going on? Also, if you have any listings you want to promote, feel free. Sam, are you back? Still driving?
Oh, me?
Sam, what do you have going on?
What do I have going on? Well, we just closed an escrow today. Actually, I closed 3 escrows today. One in Central California, one with David Yashar, and one with Kevin Danielifa at the KW Beverly Hills.
Fantastic. So the question is to everybody, who else want to close escrows with Sam? That's the question.
That's what I'm talking about.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's great.
I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. I hear a lot of these, the market is shifting, the market is going down. But the problem is that the seller's expectation hasn't changed. So the market can do whatever it wants, but the problem is the seller is still thinking about what has happened in the past few years. They're still not there yet. So trying to convince the seller that the market is shifting, it's not easy. Very tough.
So how do you overcome that, Sam? How do you overcome that? Yeah.
I mean, even when you educate them, it's just like nobody's hungry, you know, nobody's desperate. I mean, I prospect a lot. So I run into a lot of potential sellers, but no one is desperate. You know, no one is like, oh, I have to sell now, you know. Nobody's getting scared of what's coming. Or I don't know, just it may be assumption. I guess the LA market is just too hot. I don't know. That's just.
Yeah, it's interesting because like on the residential side, when you look at San Diego, there's about 3,500 listings currently. And in the balanced market, San Diego would have about 8,500 listings. And so it's still a seller's market. But when you look at what's happening on, you know, and I don't use Redfin or Zillow to kind of get an idea of pricing, but when you look at what the normal customer would do is go on Redfin and Zillow and look at pricing, they naturally think, oh my God, the market's shifting, the price of housing will go down. So as a buyer, you know, I wouldn't buy a house myself, right? I'm looking at it and everyone's dropping there's all these adjustments, 120, 150,000. And so it's a unique market for sure. I'm starting to see that. There's a lot of buyers that are hesitant thinking there's going to be this big old bubble burst since like similar to 2008, but I don't think that's coming. I think there's
Like
going to be
I
a
said,
shift, but not that big. Yeah.
The problem is that, listen, the media can say one thing and the reality is a different thing. You know, the sellers are not desperate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you have desperate sellers, that's when it becomes a buyer's market. But you don't have desperate sellers.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't see it.
I agree with you, Sam. I don't see it either.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not really a buyer's market yet. Right now, they're just starting with the propaganda. It almost seems like they're pushing us towards a recession, you know, all these negative news. I mean, obviously the printing has stopped, so the interest rates has gone up. But again, we need sellers that are desperate, and I don't see it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
Agreed.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, we have a medical building right now, and it's a practice. It's a practice and a property. The doctor has been there for the past 40 years. I'm pitching a product we have with David Yashar. I mean, David Yashar is the master at pitching a product. I don't even know what I'm doing here. So if you know any doctor, owner, user, please, you know, bring him on.
You're doing great. You're doing great, Sam. You're doing great.
And we brought back that building on Westwood Boulevard in Ohio. It's about 17,000 square feet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the area. It's that corner building. It's 3 stories with a hardware store. It used to be a hardware store like a couple years ago for many years. We're selling that one for close to 12 million. What else? David, where are you at? You're the master in this.
David or Mead, because maybe David is still driving, but David or Mead, if you have anything to add or to pitch.
Yeah. I mean, what are you guys doing? What is everyone up to? Anything in escrow? No escrows?
Hey guys, I wanted to ask a question about what's your feeling about the interest rates. Looks like they're going to raise them again in 2 to 3 weeks. So could this be that the market is lagging and maybe it may affect the market to some extent or no extent? Or I mean, we cannot ignore this elephant in the room. Just wanted to mention this.
I think the elephant. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the expert.
No, not the expert, but I'll put in some information on here. So one of the things we're looking at, I know prime's going up. But at the same time, from what I'm noticing is the hesitancy of the clients to pull the trigger on the deal for the buyer side, right? And like Sam said, there's no desperate sellers. But if you look at the market, prime is going up. The 10-year bill, the 10-year T-bill, which a lot of these products are attached to on the lending side, it is keeping pretty steady and coming down. So it's been steady in the last 2 weeks at around 2.82 was the lowest I saw. And as of today, this morning, it was at 2.99. So that is going to have some effect on the rates. But as Sammy said, it's more of a, honestly, not even a propaganda. It's kind of pushing, hey, the rates are going up, and it's putting that fear in people when they're showing them, hey, prime's going up by half a point or a quarter of a point or 3/4 of a point. It creates that fear in people, and buyers want to hold on and not buy. Sellers are not, they have so much equity. Some of them that had the properties for a while, they have equity, and they're like, I'm not in a rush to sell. But if that desperate seller does come in, you're going to see him a mile away, right, Sam?
That's right.
That's at least what I think. What are your thoughts, Idris?
Well, I will say I was on a call this morning, an internal call with PNC, and they were talking about the fear of rates jumping up another 75 basis points. And I'll be honest, my eyebrows went up, and I was like, wow, the last jump was a bit much, and now there's gonna be another jump. So, but then you hear all these stories of hey, well, 20 years ago, 30 years ago or so, rates were 13, 14%. People were still buying buildings and still buying real estate, which is true. So there's always going to be a buyer. I think there's a quote I read, I forget who said it, but it was something along the lines of, hey, when's the right time to buy a building or buy a house? And it's when you have the money. If you have the money, buy it, right? If you don't have the money, then don't buy it. So.
And it's the best way I can put it for my clients is saying, hey, you're married to the property, you're dating the rate. That's what it is. The rate's not going to be always the same exact thing. You're going to refinance it when rates drop. It's the right thing to do. You're going to be married to the property because you're going to own it once you purchase it. Now the dilemma is, and I'll give you an example. I had a client that wanted to pull out of a deal, and it's a $4.7 million building he's purchasing. He said, I don't feel I don't feel at ease purchasing this. I said, what's the issue? I was like, please fill me in. He goes, the rates are going higher. I was like, so you're going to wait a year? He goes, yeah. I said, so what happens if the price of the building goes up? You got to take the building. You can refi the rate later. You're not attached to the rate. If you buy the building, you move your practice in, you're at a good place. I was like, but if the rates are going to go up and up, I was like, you're kind of stuck. You got to pick which one you're going to go with. So he decided to move forward and purchase the building, bite on the rate. He did it without a prepay. And the fact that he's moving forward, he can refinance at any time once that rate drops. And he's never married to it. The payment's not going to be that much of a difference for the time being until he refinances it at a lower rate.
Sam, you want to add something?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Actually, we just canceled escrow today on another property. It's on Warner Avenue, 611 Warner Avenue. It is my listing, but it's an off-market listing. And that's one of those where the uncertainty of the market is making the buyers be more hesitant. And they pulled out because they don't know if the numbers will make sense in 2 years. So I think that developers are definitely putting things on hold right now, because I'm also dealing with a few of those projects where it's a land deal. I have another client who owns a property in Beverly Hills. We're just talking about problems right now. Yeah. So I referred him to a hard money guy. I mean, 2-3 months ago, things were good. He signed the loan docs. I guess he got like a 6% hard money on his property in Beverly Hills. and now the hard money guy, the lender, is not performing, and he may lose his property because you know, he can't get it financed. So the elephant in the room, like, what's his name? Who said it was Albert, right?
Yes, that was me.
I think maybe the elephant in the room is when these loans come due in the next few years, because a lot of them, you know, they're like 5-year loans. I think that's an elephant in the room. And you got all these, you know, moratoriums where you can't kick out the tenants. So basically, now you got this big mortgage with the new rate, and you can't kick out the tenants. Probably that's the bigger elephant in the room. But for the market to shift in the next 6 months, I don't see it. It's very hard to see that. What do you think, Remo
You mean
Sultani?
shift downwards?
Huh?
You mean shift downwards? You don't see it shifting downwards?
I don't see like a major shift. No, I don't. It's just, I mean, I see all the negative stuff. I mean, it's like, yeah, obviously something has to give, but it's just like, I don't see the thing is like I said, the sellers are not desperate, and I understand why they're not desperate. You know, it's like sell and buy what? And then when they want to buy something, you know, there's no meat on the bone. Okay, because now the other seller has high expectation. There's so much expectation from the seller side that it's very tough. It's a very tough market. You know, I guess we got to hire people to go beat up the sellers.
Don't count on me.
And
Huh?
Just need to keep shake the tree. You know, that's the name of the game, right? Something it just being metaphoric and creative. Just need to keep shaking and keep having those conversations. You know, we're not in the business to convince people, right? We're just in the business to keep educating. And you know what you're saying, Sam, is true. It also depends on the niche. You know, like even residential, there's like so many different types of you know, moving pieces. It's not just about the first-time home buyer or the seller that sells his house the first time. There's like a lot of different types of, you know, properties and sellers and buyers. Same thing in commercial. So, you know, you just mentioned that today you canceled the escrow because of the buyer couldn't see the numbers in 2 years from now, right? So there's so many different pieces to it, right? The best we can do is just to keep, you know, hitting the phones and having those conversations and relationships. And people always, I think, you know, Remo already mentioned, people always need to buy and sell, right? So, and Eddie mentioned the best time to buy is when you can afford to buy, right? So there you have it.
Yeah, and I think what will be more popular in the future, in the next maybe 6 months to a year, we're going through that right now. There's a lot of requests for seller financing. Okay, one of the escrows I'm closing today is seller financing, and on Wednesday, David Yashar and I and the buyer and seller were meeting at David Yashar's office in Beverly Hills, and obviously we're trying to, you know, bring the seller and buyer together. That's another deal that will be a seller financing deal. That's a shopping center that we're selling. I guess, you know, it's just, you're gonna see a lot of seller financing. That's the only way it would make sense. For like a couple of years, seller financing until the, you know, the interest rates go back low again. Yeah.
But Sam, do you think that the sellers are going to be giving out pretty decent interest rates?
In our case, I think that, you know, the seller is he's being very reasonable. Remember, if he doesn't, then he has to do a major price cut. So he would rather, you know, do the lower interest rates for a couple of years, okay, and, you know, still, you know, get the higher higher price on the, per foot on his property, rather than, give a huge discount and compensate on the interest rate. So yeah, no, definitely, I see that the sellers they would rather do seller financing for a couple of years than, lowering the price. It makes sense.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
From what I've seen in my experience, that whenever I had a seller involved, it was typically a higher rate. And I just recently refinanced a seller carryback note for a client of mine, and this guy was doing that at 9%.
No.
I have no clue how the borrower signed for it, but he was doing 9%, and we got him 4.25, which wasn't bad, but still better than 9%. But he took that for about 2 years.
I guess I'm talking about the future market. Yeah, in the
Correct.
past, I agree. Now, the one I closed today was at 4% 1 year, interest only. And the one that we're discussing on Wednesday, tomorrow, I guess it's going to be around those numbers. Definitely, I see that, seller financing will play a big role.
It definitely will. If that's the rates
Yeah.
they're giving, yeah, it definitely will.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything you want to promote? Any needs or any listings you want to promote? Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it. And we have the information down the chat that Remo shared with us as well. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody want to share with us? Okay. I think our next, our next call is in about 2 weeks from now, on the 26th. And I'll check with Kim. We're gonna send you an email who the speaker is. And until then, just keep hitting those sellers and buyers. There's a lot to do out there, and it's still gonna be a strong year, mostly for commercial. There's a lot of moving pieces. So keep it up and up, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Meny.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me on, everyone.
Thanks, Remo.
Thank you.
Thank you.